We talk about AAA games all the time, big budgets, massive marketing, and studios with hundreds of developers. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Some of the most memorable gaming experiences don't come from the biggest studios at all. They come from AA games, games made with smaller teams, tighter budgets, and a lot more heart. These are the games that quietly surprise you. You boot them up expecting something decent, and a few hours later, you're fully locked in, emotionally invested, and wondering why nobody talks about this game enough. Strong stories, polished gameplay, beautiful worlds, and moments that stick with you long after the credits roll. That's what this list is about. In this video, we're counting down 20 AA games that genuinely feel like AAA masterpieces, not because of budget, but because of passion, smart design, and unforgettable experiences. If you love single-player games, hidden gems, and titles that punch way above their weight, you're in the right place. Alright, let's get into it. Hellblade. Senua's Sacrifice is one of those games you don't just play, you experience it, and honestly, it stays with you long after you put the controller down. From the very first moments, the game pulls you into Senua's world with an atmosphere that feels heavy, intimate, and deeply personal. This isn't a power fantasy or a flashy action game. It's a quiet, emotional journey through grief, trauma, and inner demons, both literal and psychological. What really sets Hellblade apart is how it handles mental health in a way that feels respectful and unsettling at the same time. The voices in Senua's head whisper, argue, warn you, and sometimes even mock you, and there are moments where you catch yourself listening to them like they're real people sitting right next to you. Combat is simple but weighty. Every swing feels deliberate, and the camera stays close, making each fight feel intense and uncomfortable in the best way. Visually, the game punches way above its AA label, with detailed facial animations and environments that feel alive and oppressive. There's a certain quiet bravery in how Hellblade tells its story, never over-explaining, never holding your hand, just trusting you to feel what Senua feels. And yeah, there are moments where you'll probably pause, take a breath, and think, wow, this game is something else.
Take him down! Take him down! Focus! It's the only way. End it. Focus! Take him down. Focus!
A Plague Tale. Innocence is one of those games that sneaks up on you emotionally. On the surface, it looks like a simple stealth adventure set in medieval France. But once you spend a little time with it, the bond between Amisha and her younger brother Hugo becomes the heart of the entire experience. You're constantly protecting him, guiding him through chaos, and adapting to a world that feels cruel, broken, and unforgiving. The plague-infested environments are haunting in a quiet way, with empty villages, distant screams, and shadows that never feel safe. And then there are the rats. Thousands of them. They aren't just a visual gimmick. They're woven into the gameplay and the story so naturally that light becomes your lifeline, and darkness feels genuinely terrifying. Combat is minimal, which actually works in the game's favor because it keeps you feeling vulnerable instead of powerful. What really sells Innocence as an AA feeling experience is how carefully paced it is. The story unfolds slowly, giving space for character moments, small conversations, and emotional beats that feel earned. There's something very human about this game. It doesn't rush, it doesn't shout, it just quietly pulls you in and refuses to let go.
You have your sling. You can protect us.
It's not that easy, Hugo.
Oh.
Outsiders! Oh no, quickly, quickly! The ladder, go and climb, you first!
Metro. Last Light Redux is a perfect example of a game that takes a modest budget and turns it into an incredibly cinematic, intense, and immersive experience. Stepping into the ruined tunnels of the Moscow Metro, you immediately feel the claustrophobia, the tension, and the constant threat of both human enemies and the mutated horrors that lurk in the darkness. The Redux edition makes it even more polished, with smoother performance, better visuals, and subtle enhancements that make every corridor and ruined station feel alive. What sets this game apart isn't just the survival mechanics or the resource management, it's the atmosphere. You'll find yourself pausing to just take in the details. Graffiti on walls, flickering lights, distant sounds echoing down the tunnels. The story is surprisingly deep for a shooter, exploring themes of loyalty, morality, and survival in a world that's fallen apart, and it never feels forced or preachy. Combat is tense and deliberate, and every encounter can spiral into chaos if you aren't careful, which keeps your heart racing the whole time. Honestly, there's a kind of grim poetry in Metro, Last Light Redux. It's brutal, beautiful, and immersive in a way that many AAA games strive for, but few achieve.
Notice the difference? Those are the basics. You can keep practicing if you want, or head on up to Miller's briefing.
Control is one of those games that makes you stop and think, wow, this is something completely different. From the moment you step into the Federal Bureau of Control, you're hit with a surreal, mysterious atmosphere that's equal parts unsettling and fascinating. The building itself, the oldest house, feels alive, constantly shifting, twisting, and surprising you in ways that make exploration genuinely thrilling. Jessie Faden, your protagonist, is strong, sarcastic at times, and totally relatable. And the way she moves through the environment, floating, slamming objects, and using telekinetic powers makes combat feel creative, fluid, and incredibly satisfying. The story teases mysteries and secrets at every turn, and the more you explore, the more the narrative pulls you in, blending supernatural elements with bureaucracy in a way that somehow works perfectly. Graphically, the game punches way above its AA label, with lighting, particle effects, and destructible environments that constantly wow without ever feeling over the top. Control isn't just about action, it's about curiosity, experimentation, and the small aha moments when you finally figure out how to manipulate the environment in combat. There's a strange, almost eerie fun in watching objects fly around and seeing enemies crumble, and honestly, you can't help but grin a little when things get chaotic. Alan Wake Remastered is the kind of game that instantly hooks you with its story, atmosphere, and sense of creeping dread. Playing as Alan, a writer trapped in the eerie town of Bright Falls, you're drawn into a psychological thriller where the line between reality and nightmare constantly blurs. The remastered version elevates everything, with sharper visuals, improved lighting, and more immersive environments that make the darkness feel alive. Gameplay cleverly balances action and suspense. You're not just shooting enemies, you're fighting shadows with light, which makes every encounter tense and satisfying. Beyond combat, the narrative is what really sticks with you. Alan's struggle, his fragmented memories, and the slow unraveling of the mystery feel deeply human, with moments of dark humor, suspense, and genuine emotion sprinkled throughout. The episodic structure of the game makes it feel like you're binge-watching a gripping thriller, and there are small touches like radio broadcasts, manuscript pages, and environmental storytelling that pull you even further into the world. By the end of a session, you're left thinking about what's real, what's imagined, and just how much care went into making a game that feels cinematic, personal, and unforgettable, all without a massive AAA budget. The Medium is a game that immediately grabs your attention with its unique dual reality concept and keeps you hooked with its eerie, atmospheric storytelling. You play as Marianne, a medium who can navigate both the physical world and the spirit realm simultaneously, and the game cleverly splits the screen or shifts perspective to show both realities at once. This mechanic isn't just a gimmick. It's central to exploration, puzzle solving, and narrative, giving every moment a sense of tension and curiosity. The environments are hauntingly beautiful, full of abandoned buildings, foggy landscapes, and unsettling details that make the world feel alive and ominous at the same time. The soundtrack and sound design are masterful, heightening suspense and drawing you into moments of fear, discovery, and quiet reflection. Combat is limited but effective, keeping the focus on psychological horror, atmosphere, and clever use of abilities rather than constant action. What really sticks with you, though, is the story, Marianne's personal journey, the secrets of the spirit world, and the connections between the two realities are emotionally resonant, giving the game depth beyond its scares. The medium manages to feel polished, cinematic, and emotionally engaging, proving once again that AA games can deliver experiences on par with the biggest AAA titles.
The Neva Workers Resort. Right off the bat, I could feel there was something off about that place.
Vampyr is one of those games that quietly surprises you with how much depth it packs into every choice and conversation. You step into the shoes of Dr. Jonathan Reed, a newly turned vampire in post-WWI London, trying to balance his duty as a doctor with the bloodthirsty nature of his curse. On paper, it sounds grim, and yes, some of it is dark, but the world itself is so alive that you can't help but get drawn in. The streets feel lived in, the citizens have stories, personalities, and little quirks that make you care about what happens to them, which makes the morality system hit that much harder. Every decision who to feed on, who to save, how to interact carries weight, and it keeps you second-guessing yourself in a way most big-budget games don't. Combat is satisfying without being overly complicated, and combining vampiric powers with weapon skills makes fights feel fluid and engaging. What really makes Vampyr stand out is its pacing and atmosphere. Rainy streets, gas lamps flickering, the quiet tension of knowing that everyone you meet could become a choice that changes the story. There's a real sense of consequence, and the small moments of dark humor or human connection make the game feel intimate, smart, and surprisingly emotional for a AA title.
I'm not human anymore.
GreedFall is a game that sneaks up on you with how rich and alive its world feels. You play as Dishonored, a diplomat and explorer navigating a mysterious 17th century-inspired island filled with magic, political tension, and morally gray choices that actually matter. From the start, you notice the attention to detail, the towns, the forests, the factions all feel distinct, and NPCs have lives beyond just giving quests. What really hooks you is how your decisions ripple through the world. Negotiate with one faction, and suddenly another faction treats you differently. Choose to help or harm certain characters, and storylines shift in subtle but meaningful ways. Combat mixes tactical planning with a touch of real-time action, letting you approach fights in multiple styles, whether you prefer diplomacy, stealth, magic, or straight-up sword swinging. And the soundtrack and art design? They're hauntingly beautiful, giving the game a cinematic feel that feels way beyond what you'd expect from an AA title. GreedFall isn't just about exploration or combat, it's about feeling like your choices matter in a living, breathing world, and that's what makes it punch above its weight. Remnant II is a game that manages to take a seemingly simple formula and turn it into a tense, thrilling, and surprisingly deep experience. It's a third-person shooter at its core, but the world design, procedural elements, and boss encounters give it a sense of scale and unpredictability that keeps you on your toes. You're exploring strange, dangerous lands filled with grotesque enemies, massive bosses, and environmental hazards that feel alive and reactive. One of the best parts is how co-op and solo play balance together. You can tackle challenges with friends or rely on clever strategy and patience when you go it alone. Weapons and abilities feel weighty and satisfying, each shot and swing deliberate, which makes combat addictive without ever feeling repetitive. Beyond the action, the world itself is full of secrets, lore, and tiny story beats that make exploring genuinely rewarding. There's this rare sense of tension mixed with excitement. Sometimes you're crouched in a ruined corridor, trying not to attract attention, and a moment later, you're thrown into a boss fight that's equal parts chaos and awe. Remnant II is proof that AA games can deliver moments that feel massive, polished, and cinematic, all while keeping gameplay tight, rewarding, and full of surprises. Metro Exodus is the kind of game that makes you stop and just soak in the world it creates. Moving beyond the claustrophobic tunnels of the previous Metro games, Exodus opens up vast, post-apocalyptic landscapes while keeping the series' signature tension and survival-focused gameplay. You follow Artyom and his crew on the Aurora, traveling across Russia in a journey that's equal parts epic adventure and personal story. The mix of open environments and linear story-driven sections is handled brilliantly, giving you moments of breathtaking exploration alongside heart-pounding encounters with mutants, hostile humans, and environmental hazards. Every region has its own atmosphere, from snow-covered forests to dusty, sun-bleached plains, and the game's attention to detail is staggering. Wind-swept debris, distant animal cries, and the faint sound of survivors make the world feel alive. Combat is tense and deliberate, whether you're sneaking past enemies or diving into firefights, and crafting weapons and ammo adds a layer of strategy that keeps you engaged. But what really sticks is the narrative and the emotional weight of the journey, the camaraderie, the sacrifices, and the glimpses of hope in a world that's mostly bleak. Metro Exodus doesn't just feel like a big-budget A title. It feels like a cinematic, heart-pounding adventure crafted with care and vision.
I'll catch him and open the door for you. Hold on. Where are you going, you—
Kingdom Come. Deliverance is a game that feels like stepping into a living, breathing slice of history, and it does it in a way that's both meticulous and surprisingly approachable. You play as Henry, a blacksmith's son caught in the turmoil of 15th century Bohemia, and the level of realism here is incredible. Combat isn't flashy, it's tactical, weighty, and requires timing, positioning, and patience. Even simple things like eating, sleeping, and carrying the right equipment matter, which adds a grounded sense of immersion that most games shy away from. But it's not just about mechanics. The story, filled with political intrigue, betrayal, and revenge, keeps you invested, and the world itself feels alive. Towns bustle with villagers going about their daily lives, merchants call out their wares, guards patrol, and everyone reacts differently depending on your choices and reputation. Exploring forests, castles, and villages feels rewarding because the attention to detail is staggering, from the architecture to the dialogue. Kingdom Come. Deliverance is proof that AA games can create worlds that feel massive and lived in, blending historical accuracy with storytelling and making every decision feel meaningful. By the time you're done, it's hard not to feel like you've genuinely lived a piece of history. Nier Automata is one of those rare games that sneaks up on you emotionally while delivering fast, fluid, and exhilarating gameplay. You play as androids 2B, 9S, and A2, caught in a war between machines and humanity, but the story goes far beyond simple conflicts. It dives into philosophy, identity, and the meaning of existence, all wrapped in a world that's both beautiful and haunting. Combat is stylish and dynamic, seamlessly blending hack-and-slash action with shooting segments that keep you engaged constantly, and the upgrade system makes each encounter feel rewarding. What really makes Nier Automata feel AAA level is the sheer care put into its narrative structure. Multiple playthroughs reveal new perspectives, unexpected twists, and layers of emotional depth that hit surprisingly hard for a game of its scale. Music plays a huge role too. The soundtrack is hauntingly beautiful, perfectly matching the desolate landscapes, epic battles, and quiet, reflective moments. And while the game can get heavy and thought-provoking, there are also light, even funny moments that balance the tone perfectly, giving it a human touch. By the time you finish, you're left thinking about the story, the world, and the choices made long after the credits roll, a rare achievement for an AA title. Lies of P is an incredibly ambitious AA game that punches way above its weight, delivering a dark, twisted reimagining of the Pinocchio story that's equal parts gothic horror and intense action RPG. You step into the shoes of Pinocchio, a mechanical being navigating a city full of grotesque monsters, corrupted humans, and secrets lurking around every corner. Combat is deep and satisfying, with a mix of melee weapons, crafting, and strategic planning that makes each encounter tense and rewarding. What really stands out is the atmosphere. the world feels oppressive, yet alive, with incredible attention to detail in both architecture and environmental storytelling. Every corner has a story, every enemy encounter keeps you on edge, and the branching paths of your choices add real weight to how the narrative unfolds. The way Lies of P blends horror, action, and an emotionally resonant tale is impressive, and the game's visuals, lighting, and sound design make the city feel like a character in itself. There's a grim beauty here that makes it hard to put the controller down, and moments of discovery hidden areas, clever weapon upgrades, or surprising story beats give it that big game feel despite its AA label. By the end, it's easy to forget you're playing a smaller budget game because the scale, polish, and ambition feel completely epic. Remnant from the Ashes is a game that proves AA titles can deliver tense, rewarding, and endlessly replayable action that feels every bit as polished as bigger budget shooters. You step into a post-apocalyptic world overrun by monstrous creatures, taking on procedurally generated environments that keep every playthrough fresh and unpredictable. Combat is tight, tactical, and unforgiving. You're constantly balancing ranged attacks, melee, and dodging while coordinating with allies or AI companions. One of the standout aspects is how the world feels alive despite its desolate setting. Every ruin, every encounter, and even the smallest environmental detail tells a story, immersing you in a bleak yet compelling landscape. The boss fights are massive, memorable, and strategic, giving you a sense of accomplishment that sticks long after the screen goes black. Beyond the action, there's a satisfying loot and progression system that rewards careful exploration and experimentation, making you feel like your choices in gear and playstyle genuinely matter. Remnant from the Ashes is intense, immersive, and addictive, showing that AA games don't need a massive budget to deliver experiences that are thrilling, polished, and cinematic. A Plague Tale. Requiem picks up where Innocence left off, and it's an emotional, visually stunning journey that proves the series has grown into something truly special. You return to the world of Amisha and Hugo, and the bond between the siblings is stronger, more fragile, and more heart-wrenching than ever. This game expands the scope dramatically. The environments are larger, more varied, and dripping with atmosphere, from dense forests to war-torn villages, each location alive with tiny details that make the world feel real. The plague and its horrifying rat swarms remain central, but now they're even more integrated into both the story and gameplay, making every stealth segment tense and every confrontation nerve-wracking. Combat is smoother, the tools and strategies feel deeper, and the pacing balances moments of quiet reflection with high-stakes tension perfectly. Narrative-wise, Requiem doesn't shy away from dark emotional moments, yet it also gives space for small joys and triumphs, making the highs feel higher and the lows hit harder. By the time you finish, you're emotionally invested, impressed by the polish, and constantly thinking about the clever ways the game blends story, stealth, and survival into something that feels massive, cinematic, and unforgettable, all while still being an AA title. Dishonored is one of those games that makes you feel like a ghost, a shadow, and a master of chaos all at once, and yet it does so with incredible finesse for an AA title. You step into the shoes of Corvo Attano, framed for murder, and suddenly the city of Dunwall becomes your playground, filled with guards, secrets, and opportunities for creative problem-solving. The beauty of Dishonored lies in its freedom. Every mission can be approached in countless ways, whether you prefer stealth, gadgets, powers, or a mix of everything. The world is dense and alive. Citizens have routines, guards notice your behavior, and even small environmental details tell stories if you pay attention. Powers like teleportation, time freezing, and possession aren't just flashy. They let you experiment, plan, and pull off moments that feel truly cinematic. The story is gripping, morally complex, and full of tension, but it's the player's choices and creative approaches that make the experience genuinely memorable. Dishonored manages to make a smaller budget feel irrelevant because the polish, level design, and sheer joy of experimentation deliver an experience that feels AAA in every sense: intense, stylish, and unforgettable.
Attention, the solitary wing is off limits to maintenance unless accompanied by an officer of the watch. Escort through the solitary.
Prey 2017 is one of those games that quietly sneaks under your radar and then hits you with a complete, polished experience that's hard to forget. Set aboard the Talos I space station, you play as Morgan Yu, exploring a world full of secrets, dangers, and alien threats that keep you constantly on edge. What really makes Prey shine is how it blends exploration, storytelling, and combat with freedom. Almost everything you see can be interacted with, used creatively, or repurposed in surprising ways. The mimics, those shape-shifting aliens, keep every encounter tense because you never know if that coffee cup on the floor is harmless or hungry. Skills and upgrades let you experiment with powers, weapons, and hacking in ways that feel satisfying and strategic, making every playthrough slightly different. The story itself is layered and intriguing, slowly unraveling corporate secrets, ethical dilemmas, and personal stakes that keep you hooked. Combined with its sci-fi atmosphere, excellent sound design, and attention to environmental storytelling, Prey delivers a sense of immersion that many AAA games struggle to achieve. It's tense, clever, and polished, proving that AA titles can craft unforgettable, high-quality experiences when done right. Metro 2033 Redux is the kind of game that immediately pulls you into its dark, haunting world and refuses to let go. Set in the ruins of post-apocalyptic Moscow, the game puts you in the shoes of Artyom, a young man navigating the treacherous tunnels of the Metro while humanity clings to survival above and below ground. The Redux edition elevates the visuals, lighting, and performance, making every tunnel, ruined station, and shadowy corner feel alive and oppressive. What makes Metro 2033 truly stand out is its atmosphere and tension, the constant scarcity of resources, the eerie silence punctuated by distant dangers, and the claustrophobic corridors all keep your heart racing. Combat is methodical and unforgiving, whether you're taking down humans or mutated creatures, and the stealth elements make every encounter feel meaningful. Beyond action, the story is gripping, full of moral choices, political tension, and moments of quiet introspection that make the world feel lived in and consequential. Metro 2033 Redux is a masterclass in immersive, story-driven gameplay, and it proves that an AA game can deliver cinematic tension and emotional depth that rivals even the biggest AAA releases. Outriders is a game that manages to blend intense, fast-paced combat with a surprisingly deep story, all while maintaining a polished and cinematic feel that many AAA games aspire to. You step into a world ravaged by a mysterious alien anomaly, taking on the role of an outrider humans gifted with incredible powers. What makes the game really shine is how it combines shooter mechanics with RPG-style progression and unique abilities. You can unleash devastating powers, combine them with weapons, and watch as enemies crumble in spectacular fashion, which never gets old. The world itself is varied and visually striking, from barren deserts to lush, dangerous forests, each area packed with secrets, side missions, and loot that rewards exploration. But Outriders isn't just about combat. The story has surprisingly emotional beats, touching on survival, loss, and the bonds formed in a broken world. Whether you're playing solo or co-op, the game keeps you engaged with its pacing, challenges, and moments of sheer chaos that are equally thrilling and satisfying. For a AA title, Outriders delivers that big game feel with cinematic visuals, polished mechanics, and a surprisingly emotional core that keeps you coming back for more.
Accepting finality, but I suppose I must accept you have found just about everything worth finding.
Kena. Bridge of Spirits is one of those games that instantly makes you feel like you've stepped into a magical, living world. You play as Kena, a young spirit guide, exploring a beautifully crafted environment filled with lush forests, ancient ruins, and hidden secrets. What really sets the game apart is its charm. The tiny rot companions you collect aren't just cute, they're integral to puzzles, combat, and exploration, giving every encounter a sense of strategy and delight. Combat itself is satisfying, combining staff attacks, bow shots, and spirit powers, and it flows smoothly enough to keep you engaged without ever feeling overwhelming. Beyond mechanics, the story and presentation are heartfelt, exploring themes of loss, restoration, and connection in a way that's surprisingly emotional for an AA game. Visually, it punches well above its class, with vibrant colors, detailed environments, and character animations that feel alive and expressive. The soundtrack complements everything perfectly, enhancing both quiet moments and climactic battles. Kena. Bridge of Spirits is the kind of game that leaves you smiling, occasionally misty-eyed, and consistently impressed by how much heart and polish can come from a smaller studio. And that's our list of 20 AA games that feel like AAA masterpieces. It's crazy to see how much passion, creativity, and polish can come from smaller studios, isn't it? From intense, emotional journeys like Hellblade and A Plague Tale, to expansive, immersive worlds like Metro Exodus and Kingdom Come, Deliverance. These games prove that budget doesn't define quality heart, vision, and clever design do. If you take anything away from this list, it's that there are hidden gems everywhere, games that surprise you, challenge you, and stick with you long after the credits roll. So, whether you're hunting for gripping stories, beautiful worlds, or tight, satisfying gameplay, these AA titles deliver experiences that rival the big AA names. Let me know in the comments which of these games you've played, which ones surprised you, or if there are other AA masterpieces you think deserve a spot on the list. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gaming content, because the next hidden gem might just be your new favorite.